session. But if you do have any questions, there'll be time afterwards that you'll be able to just pop some questions in the chat. And if you could just remain on mute while the presentation's being delivered. So I'll hand over to you now, Alison. Thank you.
Cool. Hi, everybody. I hope your Monday is going well. As Christina said, my name is Alison Hines. I work at the BBC. I have worked at the BBC for over 20 years, I realized this year, which was interesting. I first started at the BBC as a receptionist. I always wanted to be a journalist, so I managed to work my way up to broadcast journalist, primarily in radio, and then I took a career break, and I now work in the outreach schemes, basically getting the opportunity to meet yourselves, be it virtually, or is it in person, and let young people know about the various different schemes and possibilities and opportunities that we have in the BBC. So I've got 2 apprentices with me here as proof that we do let them out every now and again. Alex, do you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm Alex. I am a software engineering degree apprentice. I started in 2020 and I'm in my 3rd year now. So it's a degree apprenticeship that's with the BBC and the Open University. In which I do 3 days of work for the BBC, and then I get 2 days to do my university work a week alongside that. In my team for the BBC, I am in a team called Visual Journalism, and I do front-end development, which is stuff that the user sees and the audience sees. So I work making interactive content that goes alongside articles. So like an example of that is we made a postcode lookup in which you can put your postcode and see how COVID affected your local area. And yeah, just content that makes articles more engaging and interesting to look at and work with. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you so very much. Elizabeth, Liz?
Hi, I'm Liz. I am a digital marketing degree apprentice and I'm in my 2nd year now. I'm currently in the early careers team with Alison, and I do things like assisting alongside campaigns on social media, working with other companies to create social media posts, designing things, creating leaflets, and overall content creation across the spectrum of marketing. So I've been in 1 other placement so far. So every 6 months you go into different departments to try it out. And I also do uni 4 times a month at Manchester.
Thank you so much. And you will hear a lot more from Alex and Liz a little bit later. So just to start, there's one thing, well, Alex and Liz are going to tell you lots of cool stuff, which I hope you take away and digest. But if at this moment in time, it's an afternoon and you can only keep one thing in your head, what I want you to keep in your head is that the BBC is for everybody, and that includes you. So if you've come into this presentation thinking, oh, for whatever reason, I couldn't work for the BBC because of insert whatever reason you want to insert, you have ADHD, or you think your background's not right, or any reason at all, I please want you to take that thought out of your head. I want you to rule yourself in as opposed to ruling yourself out. And I say that because the BBC is an organization that represents the whole of the UK. We broadcast to the whole of the UK. So we need to represent the whole of the UK. And that means we need to represent people in, the widest of spectrums, ages, races, genders, disabilities, ways of thinking, ways of learning, absolutely everything. So, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I can't work for the BBC because of X reason, the chances are whatever X reason is probably the reason that you should apply. And you should, own whatever you think your X reason is and tell us what the X reason is and what you're doing with it, how you're overcoming it, all those things. But don't think that that's a barrier to working with us here at the BBC. So before we really get into it, I just wanted to play a quick video for you, and it's to cool. So hopefully at some point, some of you would have seen some of that content in one stage or another. So just to give you a few facts about the BBC, we had, sorry, over 460 million people watch us weekly across the globe. Now, I said British Broadcasting Corporation, but we are actually also a global corporation. So our audience numbers in 2021 are 468 million globally, which is a lot. We have 9 national television services at this moment in time, 20 nations and region services. So those are things like BBC London, BBC West Midlands. I'm based in Birmingham, so that's West Midlands for me. And then things like BBC Scotland, BBC Wales. So we have 20 of those. We've got 10 national radio services. So your Radio 1, your 1 Extra, your Asian Network, Radio 5 Live. And the last year, these figures only came in last week, we had 17 billion streaming requests on iPlayer, which has gone up ridiculously since COVID started. And finally, we also broadcast in 40 languages across the world. Again, as I said, we're also a global organization as well as UK based. So there's a fair amount of things that you can do here at the BBC. And as you've seen, Alex and Liz, they do more than just, you'd think that maybe we only did journalism or only did production, but we actually do a range of things. So in the UK, there are 4 types of apprenticeships that you can do in the UK. At the BBC, we focus on the latter 3. So you can either do an advanced apprenticeship, which is kind of like the equivalent of 2 A-levels, or you can do a higher apprenticeship, which kind of is the equivalent of a foundation degree, or the degree-based apprenticeship, which is what Alex and Liz are doing. So by the end of it, they will leave with not only all the experience they've got, but they'll both leave with degrees at the end of it. And in that, you can do them in a range of subjects, like I said. So we have apprenticeships in production, and that could be production across television, radio, online, events. We do apprenticeships in design and engineering. We have apprenticeships in journalism and also apprenticeships in business, because at the end of the day, the BBC is a huge business. I think we're roughly 8,000 to 10,000 people, BBC members of staff in the UK. So we are a business and we do need apprentices in that. So if you fancy design engineering, that's the kind of thing where basically that's your tech side of life, or your design side of life. And if you're the kind of person that likes solving problems, being hands-on, and that could be hands-on with kit, or that could be working in code, or doing software, or being an engineer. There's a whole range of things you can do on our design and engineering side, also marketing. And then if you're interested in production, there are 2 elements of production. You could either be the person who works directly on a program, be it online, television, or on the internet, or you could do production management. So if you're interested in organizing things, basically if you want to be someone's manager, you're interested in the logistics sides of life, being a production manager means that you'll be the person who organizes that production and how it actually runs in the background. Sorry. And then, as I said, there's business. So within the business side of the apprenticeships, you could do anything from HR, legal services, accountancy. There's a wide range of things that happen in our business side. And then journalism, if you're interested in telling factual stories, stories about what's happening in your world, what's happening around you, then journalism could be the one that you could go down that route of as well. Sorry, I've decided to start now. So no matter what scheme it is that you do with us, there are some basics to all of them. The first is that you have to be 18 when you start the scheme. Now, say if you're 17 now, and you're going to be 18 by the 1st of September, you can actually apply for the schemes now. As long as you're going to be 18 within the September of the year they're going to start, then you can apply. And with all our apprenticeships and apprenticeships in general, whichever company you go with, you're earning whilst you're learning. So you're getting paid to be on the apprenticeship. And if you're doing a degree apprenticeship, you're not paying for the degree. So you're actually going to get a degree whilst you're getting paid, which is where we differ from going to university. Because if you was going to university, obviously you would have to pay. The The schemes can range in length. So the longer the schemes, usually they're kind of like degree-based schemes. Or you could do something that is just 18 months. So that could be a fast track scheme, for example. At the end of all the schemes, you'll have an accredited qualification. And that's because you spend 20% of your time studying with an external learning provider. So both Alex and Liz talked about how they go to university and what days it is that they go to university. So you'll spend 80% of your time with us, and that could be working in a variety of different placements, depending on what scheme it is you've chosen. But you will spend 20% of your time actually doing book study, as I call it. But we do also have internal teachers, I guess I should say, who will do some additional training on the sides of that. And places where you could be do placements, depending on what you do, could be such as our newsrooms. You could be placed with sport, education, children's, or drama. You could be office-based, depending on what it is you're doing, or you could be part of an operations team. So you're going out and you're working with kits on site wherever they are, or you could be based in our studios. So there's a wide variety. With regards to what kind of qualifications you need to join our schemes, they vary from scheme to scheme. Different qualifications require different things, but our website, where the link is at the bottom, it explains all the different qualifications you want per whatever scheme it is you're going into. So you'd click on the scheme and it would tell you what qualifications you need. But a lot of our schemes also, for example, like your production fast tracks and your journalism fast tracks, all you really need actually is English and Maths GCSE. And what they're looking for is your passion. What is it that makes you so want to be in broadcasting in various different ways? And then at the end of our schemes, with the exception of production, you are actually offered a job within the BBC. So once the apprenticeship finishes, you are offered a job. Obviously, the majority of people take it. Some people don't. It's completely up to yourself. But if you're thinking, what would I do again after university? I then have to start job hunting. At least with the BBC schemes that aren't production, you could walk straight into a job. And the reason why we don't offer full-time employment at the end of production schemes is because the nature of production is what we call freelance. And that means you'd work on a program, say, I can't even think of one now, say a Richard Attenborough program. So you'd work on a program, and then when that program finishes, that production is shut down, and then you would go to find work on another program. So that's kind of like the production life. It's a bit more freelance. You can, however, once you're with us and you're towards the end of your apprenticeship, you can look and see what jobs are available and apply for a job internally. And you've got to think that you would have just spent however long that your scheme is working with these members of staff. So when you apply and go to interview, you will have the added confidence of kind of like knowing the people, knowing the systems, knowing the way we work. So that is a benefit in itself. Right, so I'm going to take a break because I'm clearly out of breath from coughing. And I'm going to bring Alex and Liz back up. Hello, guys. Ooh, hello.
Yeah, hi.
Cool. Liz, you there?
Yeah, just yeah.
Cool. Oh, someone has their hand up. Let me get through the questions I'm going to ask Alex and Liz, and then we can come to questions in a minute. So the person who's got their hand up, keep that question in your mind and we'll come to you shortly. So you gave a real good explanation of what you guys do, but just give us a very quick reminder again of what apprenticeship scheme you're on and what your day-to-day looks like, please. Alex, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm Alex. I'm on the software engineering degree apprenticeship scheme, which is basically programming, making content that goes on the website that's interactive. Yeah.
Cool. So your day-to-day, are you mainly in the office or do you work from home or do you do a split?
Coming to the office about once a week kind of thing, and then rest is from home. Yeah, just working online.
Okay, yeah. Cool. And Liz, what about you?
I am doing the digital marketing degree apprenticeship, and I work across the team. I make social content on the day-to-day, and it depends on the team. With us, normally in past teams, I've been in the office like twice a week, but right now I'm working from home full time, just because my team is in another part of England, so it's a bit more difficult to commute.
Yeah, I'm based in the Midlands and Liz is in London. So that's, I guess, one of the things that have come out of COVID. Within the BBC, we do have teams all across the UK, but we can be more split now because we are more used to this remote way of working. A million Zoom meetings every day, but it is the way things have gone. Liz, I'll come back to you. What made you want to apply for an apprenticeship scheme?
I chose to do an apprenticeship because I have always wanted to do digital marketing or something within the creative, within the business field. And to me, the best way that you can get full in-depth knowledge on something like that is doing it and being practical with it. So if you have the opportunity to do it within a workplace, especially somewhere as good as the BBC, which offers a wide range of opportunities, I think that's way better than just going to university without having the same level of practical experience as you get in a degree apprenticeship.
Okay, cool. And Alex, what was your reason?
Yeah, similar kind of thing. So I think coding is something that's quite creative. So like having to work with people who are like experienced in the field already straight away gives me a good basis to learn off of and just learn different methods, different ideas. And yeah, just work with people who have so much more experience than I do straight away and still get the degree apprenticeships. The degree side of it as well is great.
Okay, cool. And what did either of you do? Did you do anything to kind of prepare yourself before applying? Did you find work experience? Did you talk to anyone? Or did you just see the scheme, love it, and apply straight off the bat? Alex?
So I went to my careers counsellor just to ask generally about apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships. In general, they helped me find tons of different schemes to apply for, just gave me general advice. And then, yeah, just to prepare for it, just did some general programming interview questions that you'll find online, just general interview questions, searching up on the BBC, just general information that you would need to know just to get through the interview. Yeah.
Cool. And Liz?
So I just wanted to make sure that digital marketing was what I thought it was, because I always, from what you hear about online, you think it's quite creative, but I wanted to ensure it was as creative as I thought it would be, because a lot of business things, they promise you creativity and then it goes more into the corporate lifestyle. So I did an internship during the summer for a month in an online digital marketing agency, just to get a feel for it. And then to prepare for like my interview and everything, I did research on the BBC in general, and then I checked employee satisfaction ratings just to see like what was going on, and everybody rated it really highly, especially in the creative teams, because when you choose an employer, you realize you're going to become part of like the employer family, and employer culture is very important. I can promise you guys that employee culture in the BBC is very promising, and even people online can tell you that if you don't believe me. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, I mean, both good ways of preparing, but looking at like employee ratings as well, because if you think about it, you're spending at least 8 hours a day, or 7 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, with working with and for this group of people. So yeah, it is really important to make sure that you know, from what you can find out, you're going to be going to a good organization. Oh, cool, I have to remember that next time. So what benefits do you find? I mean, you kind of spoke about them as the reasons why you wanted to do apprenticeships, but now that you're doing it, what benefits have you found just from doing an apprenticeship? Liz?
So for me, by doing the apprenticeship, I kind of realized if I just went into university, I don't think I would have had the same grasp on the knowledge I have now if I didn't have the practical things to come along with it. So obviously I'm doing a course alongside it, but I think the practical element is really the best part to solidify your knowledge and really get you to understand, because university gives you the knowledge, but the practical way you apply that knowledge is very different, especially in different organizations. So I think it just teaches you how to work with people and adapt to like different ways that that knowledge can be applied.
Okay, cool. And Alex?
Yeah, similar thing really. I think the work that if I do have to do work for the BBC, then it goes way beyond anything I'd have to do for university, where I have to go into depth and just have to be a better coder and better programmer basically. And then there's also the side of working with stakeholders, working with different designers, project managers, which if you're doing it at university, you're kind of just doing maybe just the programming side of it. And there's more like of the kind of businessy side, like communication, stuff like that, that you can't really develop as well with the university side, like instead of actually being in a real scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just, as I said before, getting experience from people who are very experienced has been extremely helpful as well. Yeah.
Right. And it's the fact that, just in case the students don't realize, all the work you do, it's not like a project that we give you. It's work that you do that goes on the BBC. You're working, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you get to see your code out there in the world, and Liz gets to see her. Well, Liz is currently managing the social media for National Apprenticeship Week, so she gets to see her bits and pieces out there as well. Have you guys found any challenges? Let's be controversial. Have you found any challenges?
Who's going first? Who's going first?
You sound like you have lots to say, Liz. I will pick on you.
So I'm in the second year of my apprenticeship, and with the first one, because I was transitioning from A levels, you kind of realize that it's a little bit more different than doing an internship or part-time job or something like that. An actual apprenticeship gives you all the application, you are in charge of your time and you are in charge of what you're doing at work. And slowly I began to realize that I am neurodivergent, so I have ADHD. And the real challenge I had was admitting that to myself and my colleagues, because obviously a lot of people don't expect a workplace to be so accepting and accommodating for things like that. But the BBC has things in place to help you work through and realize your own way of working and working towards your goals. So they helped me work through all the issues I was having, and now everything's great.
Okay, cool. Well, it's good to hear that you had the support for that, and I know we have different ways of working and work plans so that we can manage the best of your time. So that's pretty cool. Alex, have you come across any challenges or surprises?
So one challenge of the apprenticeship is kind of balancing both the work and university side of it. And then kind of communicating. So basically just to resolve that, you just have to communicate with your manager and your university tutors that like what commitments you can do and how you're dealing with both the work. And then I guess at the start, I also had maybe something called imposter syndrome, which is kind of you feel as if, oh, everyone else knows what they're doing and you're the only one who doesn't know what you're doing. But just, I guess, having the will to learn and just letting people know what areas you're struggling on, and then letting them know that's an area you want to work on. It's a good, like, it looks good with you, like that shows that you want to learn, and then you can obviously build your skills and then move forward.
Okay, cool. Fair dues, fair dues. And I suppose for anyone listening, when you're doing an apprenticeship, we don't expect you to learn everything, because if you know everything, then what can we teach you? So there is that very much that element of we're choosing you because we see the potential in you, and then you will learn everything you need to learn, and then some, because things are constantly changing as you go along. So cool. Is there any advice, Alex, you can go first. Is there any advice that you want to give either your younger self, now that you know a little bit more, or the audience? And that could be anything with regards to thinking about whether they should do apprenticeships or tips on applying, any advice at all?
I would definitely recommend the apprenticeship and degree apprenticeship. I'd say if I was talking to my younger self, if I was in sixth form or GCSE, having a practice project to do to kind of brush up on your skills, something that you actually enjoy and that's going to help you improve. Both for me would be programming, whatever field you want to go into. And that also gives you something to talk about in your interviews, stuff like that. And then you can also build in the complexity of whatever that project is. And then also just practicing general, what they call soft skills, is like communication and stuff, which maybe you would overlook. You say if in my field, you just try and practice stuff on your coding completely, but there's also soft skills, things like communication, teamwork, that shouldn't be overlooked as well. Yeah.
Cool. Liz?
For me, I'd recommend with any apprenticeship, but particularly with the BBC, you're not only committing to your course, you're committing to the employer. So I'd recommend you look into the BBC and consider whether it's something that you're really passionate about, because what we're looking for is you don't have to be the most qualified person or have the most qualifications, have a degree or anything like that. You just have to have a passion, and that's what everybody's really looking for. You just have to show that the course you're going for or the thing you really want to study is something that you're passionate about, and that's what we consider the highest rating for, because we can teach you all the skills. Although Alex did say the soft skills are quite general things that you should start practicing before you go in there. The general practical skills will be taught during the apprenticeship. So if you have passion and drive, that's all that anybody can advise you to do. If you want to do a small course over the summer or just try something out for yourself before starting the apprenticeship, just to see if it floats your boat, I would highly recommend that kind of thing.
Cool. Thank you so very, very much. And like I said, if you've got any questions that you want to put out a little bit later, we'll be able to answer some questions. I've just got about a few more slides to go through, and then we can open it up to questions from anyone. So just some top tips, which I think both the guys covered. There you go, show your passion. Liz covered that one beautifully. So as Liz said, passion is what we're looking for. We can teach you the practicals and the basics. Some courses, there are some qualifications that you need, but what we really want and what kind of helps your application shine above and beyond other people's is the fact that you're really passionate about it. You didn't just wake up this morning and think, yeah, I'll apply for software because why not? You know, you got to let us know what it is you like about software and what it is you like about the BBC. I know an apprentice who, her thing is making lists, and she just loves making lists and being organized, and she applied to be a production management manager, and she talked about, you know, her love of lists and the way she organizes various different things. And someone might think, a love of lists, what is that? But actually she's applying to be a production management. So it's all about logistics and being organized and organizing a whole production, organizing crew, you know, camera people wanting to know where they need to go, and actors or actresses or presenters traveling from here to there, you know. So that really shone through for her, because she's really talking about her love of being organized. Also, one of the things you might want to think about, so that you can mention, is why you want to do an early career scheme, which is basically an apprenticeship. So why do you want to do an apprenticeship? I'm not telling you just to apply for apprenticeships. You can absolutely apply for university as well, you know, apply for all of it. But in your application, be able to eloquate as to what, you know, you think the benefits are to you as to why you want to go on the scheme. And then why the BBC? What is it that about the BBC that attracts you to it? That could even be something like, well, actually, I'm not impressed with the BBC at the moment. You don't put on programs that I like, and I have lots of ideas about different types of programs you can have. That kind of critical analysis is perfectly fine. But what I would say is, make sure that you've done your research, so that when you say you don't have a program that's like A, you don't then get the interviewer saying, yeah, we do, it's called whatever. So, you know, if you can think, actually, if you can look at something critically, but then also come up with reasons as to, you know, how you'd correct that. So in this case, story ideas, that too is just as good as saying, well, I like the BBC because of A, B, and C. It shows that you've done your research about the organization. And then tell us why you. So you got to remember your application form, we don't know you. So your application form is your time to shine. It's the first time we're going to meet you, so to say. So this is the time when you've really got to tell us about everything, really big yourselves up. Get someone else to look at your application form, speak to your teachers, because, you know, you might have done something which you haven't considered, but then, you know, Miss is going to be like, yeah, but what about you forgot to put in A, B, and C, or what about that project, or what about that time when you helped out? So really sell yourself, because that is your first and sometimes could be your only opportunity, depending on how you put the application form together. And then most importantly, as I said from the beginning, just be yourself. Don't try to be anyone else. Don't think, oh, the BBC doesn't want me because of whatever the reason is. Just go for it. Completely sell yourself and be yourself. On a practical level, be yourself, because it's really tiring trying to be someone else. And you slip up, especially when you've got to do a number of interviews and assessments. You will not be able to keep it going for long enough. Secondly, it can also be very depressing because you yourself know that you're not being the person you want to be. And thirdly, because we want you, right? There's already a me, there's already a Liz, there's already an Alex. We want whoever you are. So those are some top tips on application. Sorry. Just very quickly to go over the recruitment process for this, this application stage. So like I said, our applications close on the 12th of February. They will open again in November. So what normally happens is the applications open in November, they run around to the January, February, they close, and then they'll start that year. So if you can't apply this year, you can absolutely apply next year or the year after, depending on your age, so don't worry. But the schemes close on the 12th, with the exception of one scheme which closes on the 16th, I think it is, which is UX design. Why that decided to be all individual and out there, I'm not quite sure. But after you've done that, we have a pre-assessment stage, and that includes a video interview. After COVID, we do a lot of things virtually now. Pre-COVID, everyone used to come into the building, but we do a lot of things virtually now. So you'll get strengths tests and you'll have a video interview. Now, the pre-assessment stage varies depending on what course it is you're going for. So, you know, the test that you would do if you were going for production would be very different to the test that you're doing if you're going for HR, would be very different for the test that you're doing if you're going for software. After that, if you're successful, you then move on to the assessment stage, and that will take place in April. And then we also have an assessment center, and that looks at, again, your thinking and your working, but also the soft skills that the guys have mentioned. So your team working, your communication skills. So all those kind of things are important. And then you're made an offer, or you're given some feedback early May, hopefully. If you're successful, fantastic, you'll start in September. If you aren't successful, take the feedback that has been offered. I know apprentices who have applied once, twice, third time lucky, and they've really taken on board the feedback. They've had another, 12 months or 6 to 12 months to go and really take that on board, either gain some more experience or just think of whatever it is the feedback says in the way they presented themselves and have reapplied again. So, if you don't get through the first time, don't think that's it. My potential career with the BBC is over. Keep trying, but hopefully you will be successful and you will be able to start with us in September or the subsequent Septembers. One very quick thing, just on work experience. So if you're thinking, well, that's all well and good to show my passion, but how, what can I do to show my passion? First, I'd say all experience is good experience. Do not discount if you're working on a Saturdays in retail. You might think, okay, well, that's a million miles away from production or a million miles away from design, but you've got to think, what are the benefits out of that? So if you're working in retail, you're communicating with people. Teamwork, you've got to turn up at a certain time, so that's your timekeeping. You've got a certain amount of responsibility. So remember, as the guy said, think of your soft skills as well as the skills that are totally applicable for what you're applying for. So just think all experience is good experience. Look for companies that do offer work experience in the specific fields that you're looking for. So at the moment, the BBC, our work experience scheme is on hold. We're running pilots this year, so we're hoping to reopen them next year. But there are lots of other organizations out there that you can look up. So Endemol Shine is one, Channel 4 Careers and Creative Access, they do work experience. If you're interested in things like anything that goes on screen, production or something like that, there's an organization called Screen Skills. They don't offer work experience specifically, but they do give lots of information on various different organizations that you could possibly do internships or things like that with. You can also try an internship, as Liz did. Create your own experiences, especially if you're interested in something like production. Social media, create social media posts. You know, we're not looking for someone who has 1 million followers. We're looking for someone who's making a commitment to make something, be it once a week, once every other week, whatever schedule you set yourself. But also, as Alex said, you know, see if there are any software compositions. If software is your thing that's out there, maybe you could design a website. If design is your thing, can you design brochures? Can you work with your school if they're doing anything to design their leaflets? You know, what is the thing that you can try and get some experience in? If production management, for example, is your thing, and your school's putting on anything from a raffle to a play, can you ask the teachers if you can help organize the logistics? All of those things is your own experience that you're creating. And all of those kind of types of experience are things that you want to put in what's called your personal portfolio. So again, you can build up these kind of experiences through youth groups, school, competitions. If anyone is specifically interested in journalism, the BBC Young Reporter, it's a team within the BBC, and they have their journalism competition. It opened last week. So you can go to the BBC Young Reporter website and you get the details on that. And you get to submit a story idea. And if your story idea is selected, you actually get to make that piece of content with a BBC journalist. And even if your story idea isn't selected, you can put in your application form that this is something that you've applied for. So again, it's building up that personal portfolio. And finally, make contacts. Attending careers fairs is really, really good. But don't just like attend them, pick up a card and walk off. Try and see, I know sometimes they can be quite busy, but try and see if you can actually, you know, spend a couple of minutes really talking to whoever it is on whichever company you're representing, find out a bit more about them, possibly ask them if you can have an email address or if they can point you in the direction of places you can get more experience or anything that the company itself does. So those are all different types of ways of gaining experience that will build to your personal portfolio. Finally, I just wanted to say that we've been talking about throughout this whole thing. The BBC is really committed to diversity and inclusivity. We have a long way to go. I won't say that we're perfect in it. We've got some way to travel, but we're really committed to it. And actually, we can't improve as an organization until people start applying and changing it from within. And there have been a lot of changes of late. So if you have any, we're a disability confident employer. So if you feel that you need any adjustments or any form of support in your application, in your interview, in working for the BBC, we can provide that. When you go to the webpage to apply for a scheme, you will see a link where you can click on. And if you feel you need more support in the application because of a number of ranges of issues, then please do that. And like I said, diversity matters to us. So like I said, don't rule yourself out, rule yourself in. And that is it. So just to say, I think I've mentioned it a fair few times, but applications close on Sunday, this Sunday coming. So if you're interested in applying for this round to start in September, you have just under a week. So get at it. Also follow us on social media. on Instagram and Twitter at BBC Get In. We have a wonderful range of things going out this week for National Apprenticeship Week. But even when it's not National Apprenticeship Week, we have all sorts of posts going on our social media. And it actually will give you a lot of insight into what apprenticeship life is like. You'll hear from other apprentices, but we might also flag up anything that the BBC is doing, like competitions that you can take part in as well. So does anyone have any questions? And I'll stop the share. You can actually see us. Someone says they also like making lists. Good. I like making lists. Lists are very helpful in all aspects of organization. Christina, are you there?
I am, yes.
Cool.
It was really great. Thank you so much for that. Really informative. I think I might apply for the BBC.
There is no upper age limit. You have to be 18, but there's no upper age limit. We have apprentices in their 40s and 50s. So yeah, just saying.
So I don't know if anyone does have any questions, if you want to pop it in the chat before we finish up, but just also to thank everyone for attending and giving up time out of their evening. And thank you very much to Alison and Alex and Elizabeth for presenting and for delivering. But if there aren't any questions, then we'll let everyone go.
No problem.
Was there anything else you wanted to add, Alison?
Apply quickly. Oh, we've got one. We've got a hand up. Someone's put the hand up. Do you want to write a question? I don't know if you can come off mute and ask it. I'm not quite sure.
I've just asked that person if they want to come off mute.
Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for sharing your advice and information on the apprenticeship. I have a question to ask. Did you mention accounting?
Yes, I did. I think you're going to test my knowledge on all the schemes we've got now. Oh dear. Off the top of my head, I think the accountancy scheme for this round closed in the January because I think it was a higher level one. But I know the schemes they come around every year and they could be tweaked slightly because they're really based on what the business needs as well, as much as what apprentices we need. So I know we have in the past had apprenticeship schemes and levels, I think 3 and 4 or 4 and 5. I know this because I spoke to an accounting apprentice last week. This round, they were, I think, degree or postgrads. So you may have had to go to university beforehand, but we do offer them. But in this round, they're no longer available. You'd have to look in the next round when the schemes open again in November.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a lovely evening. And if you do think of anything afterwards, you can always just pop me over an email and I'm sure Alison will be kind enough to answer it for me.
Yep, sure, no problems whatsoever.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Cool. Take care, everyone. Thanks so very much for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.